catching, fielding, and hitting, demonstrated by DePauw Tiger players. And here to introduce our first guest is our host, Terry Ryan.
Good afternoon, this is Outlook. On today's show, we're going to give you a look at one of the most successful sports on the DePauw campus, and that's baseball. In the last 2 seasons, the Tigers have won over 40 ball games and received invitations to the NCAA tourney both years. There are many reasons for this, both on the field and off. We're going to try to give you a look at both. Our first guest is sort of the brains behind the operation, Coach Ed Meyer. Coach, welcome.
Hi, Terry.
Coach, is there anything unique about your program that's made it so successful?
Well, I'm not sure that it's totally responsible for the success, Terry, but we have what I title an optional year-round baseball program. In other words, we make every effort to play ball every day we're on the DePauw campus. We have a fall program. When the weather turns bad, we move indoors and continue to work trying to strengthen ourselves physically and work on the skills that will make us better. We do break naturally during Christmas vacation. We return to the campus during our independent study period called winter term, and we have a baseball class. The students can take it for credit. It's not exclusively for baseball players, but a large number do take it. We use videotape cameras to study pitching mechanics and hitting mechanics, and we do it in a classroom setting, so the players aren't really preparing for a ball game, but they're preparing to know more about those 2 aspects of the game of baseball. And then comes the spring season, when we hope everything comes together and we're able to participate. So we do play baseball year-round for those who have the time. Now, again, I use the term optional simply because DePauw is unique in that many of our athletes play more than one sport. Some of our athletes choose study abroad, so they might not be on the campus to take part year-round. And we feel that our program gives all of those people an opportunity to play baseball. For those that want it, we're there, and for those that are involved in other things, they're free to do that.
What are the chances of an athlete participating in the year-round program and then going on and competing in another sport?
Well, he has to pick and choose, Terry. If a boy goes out for a fall sport, that has to take priority over anything that we do. But it doesn't eliminate him from the program. In other words, at this present time, there are 6 or 7 of our boys who are regulars on the football team. We'll have 1 or 2 who are basketball players. When they finish their competing season in the other sport, they'll return to us, and they'll be competitors, and there'll be a place for them.
Sure. I mentioned in the opening, Coach, about the NCAA tourney, which the team's been invited to the last couple of years. What kind of an experience is that for a ball club to get invited to the tourney?
Well, first year it was a fantastic experience. We've not been during my tenure as coach, and when that first invitation came, the players were thrilled. So was I. We were good. We felt we were good. We knew that the tournament would be very stiff competition, and as the draw would go, we chose the #1 team in the nation to play in our first ball game, and we were successful. We won. We went on and won 2 ball games and lost 2 in a double elimination tournament. But we felt that we had great national exposure. We played against people who were considered the best, and we played them even. This last year, we weren't as successful with the wins, but we were in with the same class of people. I don't think that the players thought it was exciting as the first time, but we weren't as successful as we were the first time.
In your view, Coach, what constitutes a successful season?
Well,
sorry to put you on the spot.
it's really not won and lost record, although that sure makes things a lot easier. Again, it would be an individual thing. It would be my rapport with each individual player that would determine some success. But I think that in every program there has to be a tremendous amount of enjoyment gotten, not just from a victory over an opponent, but from every practice period. If you leave the field happy, satisfied with your work, then I think it's a good program.
Great. What kind of an athlete do you look for to be a part of your program, Coach?
Well, we seek the very, very best. We spend a great deal of time in the state of Indiana and Illinois because we draw a lot of students from that area. We try to get the boy who has the best credentials in baseball. Many, many times they want to choose a larger school or a school in an area where they can play more baseball games, but that doesn't stop us from trying to get them. If we're successful just 1 time out of 50, we can be very successful as a program.
Great. How would you go about actually recruiting an athlete the mechanics?
Well, we use a lot of our alums to help us. We use newspaper articles, coaches that I've met that I know, just a general writing initially to all high schools in the area. And then it begins to narrow down. In other words, boys express an interest in DePauw. We see that there's a possibility that he can be a student athlete at our university, and it's an application filling out period and an encouragement time. We have them visit our campus, and we think that's a key to it. If we can get them down to visit DePauw, we think that what we have will sell if we can get a person there to see it.
Great. Coach, the NCAA, as you well know, is broken down into 3 divisions. DePauw is a Division III school. Could you explain to us what this means?
Yes, I think most people have it in the idea that small schools are Division III, big schools are Division I, and it's almost true. But the real distinction is in the philosophy of giving financial aid. Division III schools give aid based on a form that indicates financial need, or they give aid based on an academic excellence. In other words, you don't get a scholarship because you're a baseball player. If you're a baseball player and have one or both of the other qualities, in other words, show financial need or are a very, very good student, then you receive aid. And I think that's the difference between the 1 and the 2. They give aid based on an ability that a person might have.
There's a lot more emphasis on the athletic department?
I don't want to say that.
Okay.
I want to say there's more money spent on bringing an athlete in. I don't think there's more emphasis put on the program.
Coach, with the academic standards that are at DePauw, what kind of a strain does this put on an athlete participating in baseball?
I think there is there's a conflict. But I think the conflict works in our favor, and I explain it this way. We don't have the amount of time for practice as many schools might have. But because of that, our players show up for practice and are very dedicated to what they have to do. I think they use their time efficiently, and I think that's probably the importance of any practice, is not to stand around and do little or nothing, but to get there, get busy, get it done, and then get back home, and if you have studies or another place to go on and do it. So I use it as a positive part of our program.
Is there a willingness on the part of any of your athletes to put in an additional, more time into
Absolutely.
baseball?
Our facilities are available all the time for the players to practice. And there are many who will use it on any given day for an extra half hour before practice or an extra half hour after practice. And for the boy who wants to spend 2.5 or 3 hours on one given day to do baseball, there's a chance for him.
Great. Coach, you mentioned before the fall program. What are the main goals of this fall program?
Well, I use our fall program as an observation period. In other words, I've recruited some freshmen. There are many, many freshmen who come out who I've never seen play. There are always players who return to our squad who, for one reason or another, are being changed in their position. I sit back and watch in the fall. We don't teach a lot of technique. We just observe, and I try to make judgments of my own as to whether one boy can help us at this position, whether a new boy can help us at another position, and it serves as a very, very good tool to select the team that will play in the spring.
Is this fall baseball a common practice throughout the U.S. among colleges?
It's becoming very, very big, Terry. A few years ago it was unheard of, but now everybody wants to get a jump on the spring season. The weather is good now. Boys are coming out of summer programs so that they're ready to play, and it's a very simple thing then to organize the team, get them playing, and then make some of your judgments.
Great. When the spring season comes around, we've been having some inclement weather the last few years. How does this affect your program?
Well, we find that it does have some effect, but we don't rain out as many ball games as people might think. I think the biggest danger of a rainy spring is the lack of practice time. When you rain out a ball game, that means you can't work, and it's that rustiness that develops when you're not able to practice the skills that are necessary. We don't rain out a lot of ball games, but it does cost us some practice time.
Great. Coach, have any of your past players been given professional recognition, a shot at the pros? Well,
this last year we had both a pitcher and a catcher invited to Cincinnati to try out after our baseball tournament experience. Joe Trimble, our senior catcher, and Bobby Kyle from Clinton, Indiana, who had 2 outstanding years as a pitcher for us, both went to Riverfront and did the very best they could. They were not kept, but they had the opportunity to play with people who were of the top caliber, and I think they were very pleased with that opportunity.
Great. Coach, let's take a look at some fundamentals now with a little demonstration here. We're going to be demonstrating pitching, catching, fielding, and hitting. How would you rank these in importance to the success of a baseball team?
I don't think there's any question. Pitching is the most important part of it, probably 90% of the whole thing. We have two pitchers today with us who are going to demonstrate the fundamentals of pitching. Steve Ray, big senior right-hander who's from Clinton, Indiana. He's going to talk to us about the fastball and the forkball.
Okay, there are various pitches that a pitcher uses in the game of baseball, and probably the most important, which I feel and most pro scouts feel, is the fastball. Without the fastball, most pitchers are not going to be very successful. Okay, there are two basic ways to hold the fastball, and one of them is to hold the ball across the seams. This will tend to make the ball rise. Whenever you throw the ball, you let go of it like this, and the ball will tend to rise. And the way I hold the fastball, I hold the ball with the seams. I found this most comfortable for me. I get better control. The ball tends to tail, moves a little better for me. And the way I throw the fastball is, okay, I throw the ball over the top like this, and I try to keep my arm up high, because I'm coming down then, and the ball will tend to, at a decline, and it'll go down, and the ball will tend to tail when I hold the ball like this. Okay, another pitch that I use is a very hard pitch to throw. Not too many people can throw it because the way you have to hold the ball, and this is called the forkball. Okay, the way I hold it, I have my middle finger on this seam, and then I hold the other finger on the ball with no seam. Okay, and you have to keep the ball back in as far as you can, and this will help out in the pitch. Okay, when I throw the ball again, I throw the ball up over the top, and as I'm getting ready to let loose the ball, I kind of pull my hand back. Okay, this will tend to make the ball, as it's going in, it'll take a lot of speed off the ball, and it'll tend to make the ball hop a little bit. It'll drop right at the end. When I'm throwing the pitch, I don't really know where it's going, because it just does so many different things if it's working. And I found this a very good pitch to throw, especially to a big power hitter. It's a good off-speed pitch, good change of pace. It's just an excellent pitch, and if one can master it and throw it with good success, it's an excellent pitch to have.
Great.
Terry, I don't watch when he throws the forkball. I have somebody on the bench tell me what happens.
Is that a very commonly used pitch?
No, it's not.
No.
Our next pitcher is Tim Mundy from Terre Haute. Tim is going to show us the curveball and the slider. Tim is an excellent curveball pitcher, and I think it'll be very interesting to hear him talk.
Okay, as Steve was saying, fastball is probably your most effective pitch. And in my opinion, the curveball is probably your second most effective pitch. The curveball is a changeup, so it helps keep the batter off stride, which is really important for a pitcher. Okay, the way I throw my curveball is I hold it across the seams like this, with my middle finger down this seam and my thumb on the back seam. As you throw your curve, you come over the top, and right at the top you snap your wrist. That's where you get all your break, is in your snap of your wrist. When you're throwing the curve, you think of, as you're coming over the top, you think of coming over the barrel and crossing the 7. As you come over the barrel, that gives your best drop, and you cross the 7 to get your best break. My next pitch is a slider. Your slider it looks like a fastball as it's coming into the plate, and in the last second it breaks off like a curve, so this throws the hitter off. I throw my slider with my middle finger on this seam and my thumb on the opposite seam in the back. You throw a slider, you come over the top, you keep a stiff wrist, and you throw it as if you're throwing a football. You just come over, follow it through, the ball comes in like a fast and breaks like a curveball.
Timmy has a very good curveball and does a good job for us.
Great. The actual throwing isn't all there is to pitching, is it, Coach?
Well, there's a lot to the motion and the delivery. Steve right now is going to show us the wind-up position, which is generally used when there's nobody on base or someone on third base and you're not concerned about a runner taking an extra base. Steve is a great big strong guy, and if he does everything right, he can generate a great deal of velocity with the fastball.
Steve?
Okay, the wind-up position, like Coach said, is used most of the time. Use it without men on base. And again,
you always have those problems too.
Sure. When you're
in
wearing
baseball,
your microphone on the mound, it's
without men on base, or with a man on third base, and you're not really trying to hold the man on. Okay? And when I'm in the wind-up position, I tend to hold the ball in the glove. There are various ways to hold it. You can hold the ball at your side or in back. I hold the ball in front of me because I'm able to hide the ball from the batter, which becomes very important to a pitcher so he doesn't see the pitch. He can pick up your pitch while you're going to throw. Okay, to start off with, you have your pivot foot on the rubber, and the first step is to bring the glove and the ball up, and then to your chest area, and turn your foot and set it down in the hole in front of the rubber, okay? And then the second step is to come up and kind of set down on your back leg, and this is to get most of your power for the push-off. And then on the follow-through, you push off with that back leg and stay down, so if the ball's hit back at you, you're going to be in a better position to field the ball, okay? Now I'll go through it again for you. This will be closer to live, and you'll be able to see how more or less it goes. Okay, you bring up, the pivot foot in front, bend down, and follow through. And it's very important to stay down whenever you are going through your motion, because this will keep you down. It'll keep the pitch lower, because if you throw up high and stand up, the ball's going to tend to go high, and it's a lot easier to hit a high pitch than it is a low pitch. And most people teach you to keep the ball down, because it's been known to be very successful. And that's about all I have for the wind-up, and now we're going to have another pitcher in a minute show you the stretch.
How about that stretch, Coach? When would you use that? When would that come into play?
Tim Mundy is going to demonstrate it for us. College baseball is extremely important to hold the runner on first base or second, so that they don't advance before the ball is batted. Timmy has a very good stretch position, and he'll talk about it right now. Tim?
Okay, the stretch position is used mainly to hold men in close to the bag so they won't steal the base on you. And as you go into your stretch, the first thing you have to remember, you have to be in contact with the rubber, or a block will be called with you. So you place your pivot foot in the hole in front of the rubber with your foot touching the rubber. You get your signal from the catcher, go into your set position. You must hold this position for 1 second in order not to get called for a balk. Then after this, from this point on, it's just as Steve said. You bend on your leg to get your push off, push, follow through, come and get set for in order to field the ball if it's hit back at you.
Great. Thanks, fellas. Coach, the man behind the plate, he's important, isn't he?
He is very, very important. Our catcher, Ron Thomas, again from Clinton, Indiana, has caught these two pitchers for a long time, all the way from high school. Without a good catcher, your pitching can suffer greatly. Ron is a very good catcher and will show us right now some of the things that he has to do in order to keep our pitching staff online.
Okay, Red.
Okay, there's a few things I'd like to show you as a catcher. And a few responsibilities. Number one, what we do is we cover our legs here in order to, in case we have a third base coach or a first base coach, you don't want them to catch your signal, so more or less the coaches could give the batter what the pitch is. So our first step is get a comfortable position, crouch position. We cover our left leg with our glove hand, and our right leg is moved in so the first base coach cannot catch a signal. Then we give the signal by putting the hand on the thigh and giving the 1 fastball, 2 curve, or whatever the pitcher has designated for his pitches. After we have given a signal, we reposition our feet, we widen our stance, and we put the glove out for a signal for the pitcher. Now, there are 2 reasons for widening your stance. Number 1, we widen the stance in order to block the ball if we go left, or if the ball's in the ground, we go to the right. And number 2, what we do is we widen our stance again in case we have a man on first base or second, and a ball is thrown at me, I catch the ball, step, and throw. So now, our order of responsibilities here, number 1, give us signals, left leg in with the glove, right leg in so the coaches will not steal signals, give your signal to the pitcher, reposition your feet, catch the ball, step, and throw.
Thanks a lot, Ron. Coach, let's move out to the infield. What physical assets are important in a good infielder?
Well, Terry, we look for a boy who has very, very fast feet and fast hands. He's got to be able to move. He's got to be able to field the ball and get rid of it in a hurry. Rudy Bohinc from Clinton, Indiana, has played third base, short, and second base for me during his 4 years at DePauw. He's a fine second baseman. This year, I'm very interested in hearing him talk.
Rudy?
Okay, the infielders have a set pregame routine they go through, and instead of standing around and just throwing the ball to one another, we try to work on some fundamentals that'll help us come game time. And one of these is called step, catch, and throw. And all it really is stepping to meet the ball, catch it, and throw, and concentrate on a good follow-through to the man you're playing catch with. Another important aspect for an infielder is to be able to field the ground ball. And we practice constantly on ground balls, even in a pre-game. And we'll do this throwing ground balls to one another. One of the important things to remember in fielding ground balls is to field the ball between your legs. The ball's not going to be hit directly to you, so it's important to shift your feet and position your body so you field the ball between your legs. So when the ball comes, you adjust and field it somewhere between your legs. Another important thing is actually receiving the ball from the ground. To do this, you want to use a sweeping motion with the hands so that you have soft hands and you have good control of the ball so that it doesn't hit the heel of your glove or your body where you lose control. So when the ball comes to you, you shift the feet, sweep it in, and come with your follow-through throw to your base. On your follow-through, it's important to take another step towards the base you're throwing at to give you better accuracy and better speed on the ball. Being a second baseman, one of my major concerns is the turn of the double play at second base, which is a very important play in college baseball. We have two basic pivots we use at second base for the turn of the double play. One of these is where the second baseman is standing already on the bag, waiting for the throw, receives the throw at the back of the bag, pushes off with the left foot to avoid the runner sliding in to break up the double play, and then throwing to first base. So when the ball comes, it's important to be ready for it, catch it, push off, and throw. Another important move, which is probably faster but less accurate of a move, is to come across the bag, to sweep across the bag with the left foot, and then make your turn. The bad thing about this is it's a timing play involved with the third baseman and the shortstop. The ball has to be more or less waiting over the bag where you meet it as you're coming across to the inside of the bag to make the throw. So as you come across the bag, you catch it, sweep with the left foot, and throw to first base.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rudy. Coach, let's move to the offensive aspect. I have always heard that hitting a baseball is one of the toughest acts in any form of athletics.
Well, I have to believe that it is, Terry. You've got a person on the mound from the other team who's practiced all of his pitching fundamentals, and he's doing his best to get you out. You've got a round bat, and you've got a round ball, and it's traveling about 85 miles an hour, and you're trying to hit it, and there isn't anybody, maybe even your own coach, that's not hollering at you right at the time. So I think it's a difficult thing to do. Don Popravak, a sophomore from Chicago, Illinois, does it very well, and I'm anxious to hear him talk about his success.
Don?
Okay, I view hitting as truly one of the most individual aspects of baseball. By individual, I mean there's nobody else that can back you up like a fielder can have another infielder backing him up and help him make the play. When you step into that batter's box, it's you and the pitcher alone. And there's a few things when I do step into that batter's box I try to remember. The first thing is to relax and be comfortable and find a nice comfortable stance where I'm not too tensed up and too tight to swing the bat. And there's three things that are most important to hitting, and to me that's hips, hands, and head. But when I talk about hips, I mean you have to open your hips up toward the pitcher, and this is where a lot of your power comes from, the stride and the opening the hips. The next thing is your hands. You want to try to get the hands out in front of the plate to make contact. Then and you keep your head down where the bat's at, and you follow the ball all the way off the bat. Now, to go through that again, it's just opening the hips, following the bat all the way through till you make contact and all the way around. And another important thing about hitting is sometimes batters are called upon to move a runner to second or move a runner to third or even try to squeeze one home. This is where we come into bunting. And bunting consists of just turning your body, facing the pitcher, having both feet facing him, bat at the highest point of the strike zone, and the movement of the bat is always down. This is to put the ball on the ground, because if you move up, the ball might be popped up and have a double play off the man on first or second. So, and we can control the direction of the ball by controlling the backhand. We pull it in, and the ball will go down to the third baseline. We push it out, and the ball will go down to first baseline. So remember, to square around, both toes facing the pitcher, bat at the highest point of the strike zone, and movement always down.
Great. Excuse me. Coach, we've seen some of the physical things it takes to play baseball. How about the mental aspect, what kind of an attitude should a team have if it wants to be successful?
Well, I think the attitude has to be very positive, Terry, and we do spend time trying to develop that attitude. The men that we've had perform for us today are very positive individuals. I think that's where it all begins. My efforts are to keep everybody happy. In other words, have a busy practice program, have a good schedule, get them clean uniforms, do things that they appreciate, and then try to mix it all together during the practice program so that when we leave the field, we can honestly say we've had some fun, we've had some enjoyment. We have an equipment man, Mr. DeVilder, who keeps the locker room activity free and easy, so that, again, the players are enjoying what they do. We have gatherings at my home, so again, we continue to stay close and enjoy our company.
Great. Coach, it sounds good. The attitude's there, the talent's there. When does it all start? When does the season begin? Who are you going to play?
We begin March 13th if the snow clears against Wabash College. They're our arch rival, and that's an important baseball game for us. After that, we have Indiana, we have Purdue, we have Indiana State University. We have a very, very challenging schedule.
Who, among all these teams you've mentioned, is probably going to be your toughest test?
Well, I've had an opportunity to see Indiana State this fall. I believe, honestly, that they will be the strongest team on our schedule. We're looking forward to playing them, and I think it'll be a very, very interesting ball game. The ball game will take place in Greencastle.
Great. Coach, briefly, is there anyone else who you feel is, I'm sure there are many players you feel are important, but anyone you'd like to mention as far as
Well, I
the
have
upcoming
two other
season?
seniors who aren't with us today, a big senior right-handed pitcher, Kerry Notestein from Lafayette, Indiana, and a boy who, again, goes back to my optional year-round program. Lynn Brown is coming back to us, a senior first baseman who's been away for a year while he studied abroad. He had two outstanding seasons for us, and I expect him to have a very, very fine senior year. This is the kind of thing that explains our program, Terry. Here's a boy who had two great years, and he was a great loss to us last year. But he chose the academic offering a semester abroad. He was very successful in it, but now he's back and he intends to play baseball.
Great. Coach, have you made your reservations for the tournament next year? Are you optimistic?
Well, we're
upcoming
optimistic.
season?
We're very, very hopeful. We know that we'll be a team to consider. We were successful against all Division III people last year, and I have no reason to think that it won't continue.
Great. Coach, thanks a million for being with us today.
Terry, thank you.
Great. We'd like to thank Coach, as we did, and all the ball players for being with us, and we hope you'll join us in 2 weeks when Outlook returns. Until that time, this is Terry Ryan. Have a pleasant good afternoon.
You have been watching Outlook, produced in cooperation with the Public Affairs Department of WTHI-TV. Appearing on today's program, the DePauw baseball team 78-79 were head coach Edward Meyer and Tiger players Steve Ray, Tim Mundy, Ron Thomas, Rudy Bohinc, and Don Popravak. Our host was Terry Ryan. This program was produced by Bill Radistitz and directed by Don Ricks. The set was designed by Ann Shutley, and the floor manager was John Wildman. Graphics were prepared by Barb Ring. Our theme music was composed and played by Frank Grasso. Special thanks to our supervisor, Dr. James Elrod. This is Sheila Horn inviting you to join us again on October 7th for a program about DePauw University's foreign students on Outlook.